Alright, this chapter, which is actually a somewhat interesting chapter, not that the other ones aren't. What the heck's going on? There it is. Go down. Alright. Hey, has anyone played with Internet Explorer? Not Internet Explorer. Office 2013 yet? Do you notice how it automatically saves to d.live.net / whatever the hell crap? It does, and it's driving me crazy. Like when I try to, you notice everything I put online is pretty much PDFs. So I can save it as a Word document. When I publish the PDF, it wants to save it in the cloud, which sucks because it takes so much longer to do it. I'm having a real big issue with it. So we're going to talk about domain controllers today. I'm not going to play the slideshow. I'm just going to go slide to slide. It'll be easier to go back and forth between screens. Okay. Configuring domain controllers, and this is kind of important, and I got a lot of added stuff to add to these slides, but I want to finish it today. So, all right. So we're going to talk about all this stuff. Okay. With Active Directory, you have organizational units. That's something that came out with, let's see, NT4 did not have it, so it would have been Server 2000 was the first one that had it. Organizational units gives you the ability to group things together, which we'll look at. We can talk about domains and trees and forests, but it's just lots of stuff that goes into Active Directory. And Active Directory, when it first came out, I used to have a video somewhere around here of when Microsoft first implemented Active Directory, because they made a video of it, and it was kind of an interesting video. And in the video, Microsoft actually converts their NT4 domain to Active Directory. And if you watch the video closely, in one of the sections, it's like, all right, the fourth time's the charm. So in other words, it didn't go quite so well for them the first 3 times. But, it is a big change. I'm assuming none of you have ever managed an NT4 domain before, so you never know what they are. But it's totally different. Like when I worked at Tinker, initially they're NT4 domains, and every user in the entire domain was in one list. Can you try managing that with thousands and thousands of users? It sucked terribly. So it's done a lot differently now. So, all right, let's move on. Okay. We have domain controllers. We have operations masters, read-only domain controllers, and global catalog servers. We're going to look at each of these, but these are all really inside of one machine or more machines. But we're going to look at them as if they were all in one because you all have one machine. All right, domain controllers. This is a Windows server that stores a replica of the accounts and security information. It's a place where we can put everything about all our accounts, all our permissions, all our users. And the nice thing is, we got this room here with 16 computers in it, 18 computers in it. And if we're a member of a domain, we can configure everything in one place. My son's taking care of a network at a law firm. He has 25 users, and they're not a domain. Problem was, if he wants to give someone permission to something on a different computer, he has to manually go to that computer, add permissions, and it's just tough. It's a lot of work to do. So if they hire a new lawyer, they have to add him into the server, then add that lawyer into every machine so they can get whatever files they need. Active Directory gives us a centralized location to do that. Okay, stores a replica of the accounts and security information. Now, does anyone know when you should have your second domain controller? What do you think? The moment you had your first user. Because what they say is you need one domain controller, but you never want just one. Like what happens at your house when you lose power? Remember a couple years ago we lost power for 6 days? What happened to a lot of people? Without power. Did it affect anybody here? They were out for 6 days, and I have a full home generator, so I didn't even lose power, but like 30 seconds. But the point is, when you lose something, can you imagine if Rose State had one domain controller, and it went down? Sorry, there's nothing we can do, which kind of sucks. So what you need to do is the moment you get your first user, you need to add a backup domain or a secondary. They used to be called backups. They're no longer called backups. Now they're considered equals. But not totally. Once we look at the operations master's roles, you'll see they're not really equals. Okay? So domain controller stores a copy of all this stuff. So if we add a user on one domain controller, it automatically replicates to all the other domain controllers. They don't mention it in here, But your domain, oh, he's not going to, he didn't show up yet. Wow. The domain, the clocks have to synchronize. Okay? Does anyone have a clocks that automatically set themselves? I mean, your home clocks. Yeah. Like an alarm clock that automatically do that for you. They're pretty common nowadays, but I have one that also synchronizes to a thermometer outside. A little external thermometer, and it projects it on the ceiling in my bedroom. Because I'm one of those, I have to know what time it is. All throughout the night, I'm looking at the time. I just have to. Well, it got cold the other day. So, in our thermometer, the batteries died like the day before it got cold. So that night, I went to change the batteries before I went to go to bed, and then it didn't synchronize. So I got up in the middle of the night and got up and had to change the channel that the temperature gets in on, and then I had to reset the clock to make the clock synchronize with the external thermometer. So basically my clock was off. Because this time sets automatically, but the time zone doesn't set automatically. So then we were sleeping, and it's like 3:30 in the morning, when it was really 5:30 in the morning. And so Virginia's like, oh, I can sleep for 2 more hours. No, you can't. It's 5:30. Clock's off by 2 hours. She's like, what? So time is a really big issue, especially in domains. Okay? If the time gets off by more than 5 minutes, you can't do a darn thing. When I took some Microsoft classes years ago downtown, and it was funny because I don't remember which day of the class it was, but we were doing something, and half the class couldn't do a darn thing. Everything was configured. Our clocks are synchronized perfectly, but couldn't do nothing. What it was, half of us were in the wrong time zone. So 9 o'clock Pacific time is not the same as 9 o'clock Central time. You know, there's a 2-hour difference. So I've actually seen that quite a bit. Travel agent over on the Douglas, which is actually going out of business here in a month. It's funny because she contacted me and said, I can't sell airline tickets. And the first time she did this, it took forever to figure out what she did. Well, the head lady's an older lady. And you know how you got the clock down there in the corner? Well, one of their applications also has buttons you click down there in the corner. And when you do a full screen, it's near the clock. So what she would do is she'd accidentally click on the clock and scroll her wheel. So instead of 2014, she's in like 1972. So then the certificates are all invalid. Whoa, this certificate's not valid in 1972. It took forever to find it the first time because who would never think of that? Because it just kept saying certificate's invalid, certificate's invalid. So we call in the company like, I don't know what the problem is. Certificates are fine, but I'm like, no, your certificate's invalid. Turns out the clock on her computer was wrong. Well, she ends up doing it quite frequently now, but we know exactly what it is. But the weird thing was she did do it for years now. All of a sudden she's doing it quite frequently. I don't know. It's just... So time is a big issue. Okay? So, to convert, you have to run DC promo, or you can just, like we did, we installed it, and then we promoted it. There it is. I couldn't think of the word. Promote it from the server manager. Okay? Then it says each domain has its own set of domain controllers. Okay? For fault tolerance, you need 2 or more. So, in other words, you want multiple domain controllers. Each of us have our own domain. That's not a good plan. Okay? But for each of you to be able to configure yourself, we needed you to have your own domain. Okay? So, nothing really special there. Okay? Global catalog services. As a domain controller, so notice a global catalog is a domain controller. Okay? What the global catalog server is, stores a copy of all the objects. Okay? An object is a user. It could be a printer. It could be a computer. It could be a whatever. So an object is something in the domain. So the global catalog server stores all this stuff. In addition, it also has a partial copy of all the objects of all other domains in a forest. Let's talk about a forest for a second. Okay, HP. You know not HP. Hertz. I'm sorry, Hertz. You know what Hertz is? A rental car company. That's one of the largest domains in the world. So what they do is they have one forest, which is the entire Hertz company, I guess. Then inside there, they have different domains. Like you can imagine Hertz Europe, Hertz Asia, Hertz wherever. So you can have different domains, but they're all connected via a forest. Okay. It's kind of like Rose State. We're really, I think I told you at the beginning of the class, we are admin.cc.ok.us is our actual domain name at Rose State. Because we're part of the U.S., we're part of the, it's just the way that the local government in Oklahoma does it. and we're really part of all that. So we're really not under their force, but it's somewhat the same thing. Okay, so a global catalog server keeps a partial list. So maybe you belong to Hertz Europe domain and you come to Hertz US. A partial listing is already stored in the US. So when you log in the US, there's a good possibility it might know about you, or at least know how to find you. So when you go to log in, when you, instead of, just, I don't know what their domain name is, I'm figuring Hertz.com, instead of, Europe.hertz.com, you're now in North America.hertz.com. So when you go to log in with Europe.hertz.com in North America, it's going to say, oh, whoa. It's going to go and actually pull the rest of the domain information for you from the domains. So the global catalog server keeps all that together. So it has a partial listing of, let's say, logins, searches, universal group membership, has a partial list of all that stuff. Okay. It says it's created automatically on the first domain controller on the forest, and it stays there because it's the forest level. And it says optionally other domain controllers can be configured as them as well. We're going to look at how to do some of these. Okay. Did I totally lose anybody yet? Okay. It says global catalogs and universal groups. It says one of the functions is to provide search capabilities. You want to be able to find stuff. Here at Rose State, what do we got? 6, 8, 10 buildings? I don't even know how many buildings we got on campus. Might have 7,000 students this semester. But what if we had 700,000 students this semester? It'd be a lot harder to find stuff. So after directory, you search a lot. Okay. Does anyone notice, like in Windows, when you hit the search button? Remember years ago that I used to bring up the run box? Now it's the search box. Okay. It's like I use a Mac at home. I don't ever go into my applications folder. I always click on the spotlight, which is the search. Let's say I want to run Word. I don't even know if Word's on here. I can go Microsoft Word. It's not even on here. Seriously? Oh, there. Okay. It's just listed Word 2013. So I could have clicked on Start. I could have gone to All Programs. I could have gone to Microsoft. But I could just type in Word, and it goes right to the application. So if you haven't been doing that, it's actually a lot quicker. Because if I want to run Word, now I can just click there. Or else I could have gone here, then All Programs, and scroll down to Microsoft, and then got to Word. So it's actually quicker to perform searches. Okay? So if you're not doing that by now on your own computer, you need to start. It's much faster. It's like calculator. You go search and type CALC, and there's calculator. Does anyone know where calculator is stored at in the tree listing? See, I think it's under accessories. Is it accessories? So all programs. Oh, there's accessories. Okay. There's calculator. But who can find this stuff nowadays? They're moving it, and it's like. So just search. Well, the same thing in a domain. Okay. You really need to search, especially now that we have hundreds and thousands and millions of objects in there. You don't want to go to a list and scroll. You want to just type it in. So a part of that's cool. But so it provides search capabilities of the entire forest. Okay. It also has something called UPNs. Okay. It says additional function is to resolve the UPNs. Universal principal name. It's your user account. Now, if I'm on the Rose domain, so my user account is kdewey at admin.cc.ok.us, which is also alias out to rose.edu. Okay, so universal principal name is the user at which domain you're on. Okay, great, you broke the chair. But these chairs, when I got hired here as an adjunct in like '96, is when we got these chairs. Just saying, they used to work back then. They suck now. It's funny because I was teaching in here in 211. I didn't have enough chairs and I didn't have enough tables. And I was an adjunct. No one's going to get me anything. So what I would do is I'd come to class early and go into other classrooms and steal them. Or wait till class was over and steal tables. Like room 213, I'd go in, move a couple chairs together and take one of the tables out. And no one ever said a word. That's how I got all these nice tables. So that's kind of funny. Okay. Back to where we're at. Okay. Since membership of universal groups is stored in the global catalog and is replicated across the forest so we can all see it. Okay. It says when you log in, you must be able to view the membership of universal groups. Now, there's a statement, which, I don't know if this marker works. I always remembered it by. It's UGLY, ugly, okay? They don't mention this in the chapter anymore, but this is a big deal if you're going to get your certification test. Okay? U means universal group. Okay? A universal group is a group that can go forest-wide. Okay? So if I was a member of the universal group, I don't know, it hurts called rental agents or something, I could actually go anywhere in the entire Hertz forest because I'll be a member of a universal group. Okay? The next level below that is global group. That's local. Okay. Still forest wide, but doesn't have as many capabilities as universal. Okay, it's still forest wide. Local is actually domain local. So if I was to add you as a user in a local group, it's domain local, which means you would be only in that one domain where your account exists. If I add you into a global group, you could actually go forest-wide, and universal is just a few more capabilities than the other two. And this is really the way you should assign people. They don't mention it in here at all, but what? The Y is you. It's your user account. Okay? It's funny because the way you're supposed to do it, you should never set permissions user level. Never. Okay? Let me explain why. We got Brent. It is Brent, isn't it? We got Brent over there. We just hired him as the admin in our IT department, pretend. So we're going to take the Brent account, go to every machine on row state, give him permissions. Is that a good plan to begin with? No, it's going to suck because that's a lot of work. Brent screwed up this week. He's not fired yet, but we need to take away his domain, his admin privileges. So now we're going to get every machine on campus and disable his account. Now he's back to work. So you can see it would take forever. So you never want to manage by user accounts. It's a very bad. You should never. I mean, there are circumstances where you do, but it's very, very, very few. Okay. Local, that's domain local. So it'd be a lot better idea to give Brent into a local group on campus, so maybe a local admin group or something. And then, yeah, we can give the local admin group access to the entire campus. When Brent screws up, I just remove him from the group. Instantly, he loses his access. Okay? Oh, now he's doing good again. We can just drop him right back into the group. So you never want to manage at the user level. So local's domain local. That's what we all do. Okay? But according to Microsoft, you shouldn't do that. They say you should actually manage at the universal or the global level because they're looking at the big picture. Okay, so maybe, Brent now works for Hertz, Oklahoma. Well, he might move. He might move to Hertz, China, or Hertz wherever, and if he's a member of a global or a universal group, he could actually still access his stuff. So really, you're supposed to put the user accounts in local groups, domain local, put the domain locals into global, and put the globals into universal. It's just that, the tree level, not many organizations, actually, I don't know any around here. Maybe OSU does, because they have a lot of schools. Yes.
So what would you put in a user account? What's an example of it?
Well, the user account is like your account, Melissa. That's your login account. Okay. See, if Melissa needed access to one folder, like I have access to a folder on the network called KDewey. So they can give Ken Dewey access to it. But you really shouldn't ever manage by that. Okay? It's just that, if we're talking something specifically that only Ken Dewey will ever have access to it, yeah, you can manage by user level. But you should really do it by by local groups, at least. Like here, we have syllabuses we all update in this division. So we have a network share. We put all of our syllabuses. What we did was we put all the faculty members in a BIT group. Then the BIT group has access to the syllabuses. So if we hire a new faculty, we don't have to go out there to the folder, edit the permissions to add the new faculty member. Or when a faculty leaves, we don't have to go out to the folder and remove it. Now we just got to add them into the BIT group and remove them from the BIT group. Unless it's a user home directory, you should never, ever give permissions out at the user level. That's giving Melissa access to something. You should always put her in a group, because the odds are she's not the only person going to need access to this stuff. Okay. You don't really talk about it here, but it's a big deal if you ever want to get certified in this area. So it's universal, global, local, which is, I don't like that word. So I think of local as in like local here to this machine. That's not true. It's domain local. It's domain wide. Okay. Then I just came up with you for your account. So those are the ways to manage it. Okay. So they mentioned universal local or universal groups. I'm sorry, was just huge. Okay. All right. Let's continue on. I don't want to run out of time here. Okay. You can also cache those. The universal groups are cached. It says, if a membership of the universal groups cannot be determined, the user's login request denied the request. The user cannot log on, other than administrators that can automatically do it. What happens if you go to log on, if it doesn't work, and if you're a member of a universal group, it'll actually go and query that domain. So it could take a while. And I've also seen it before where they have. Have you ever seen an error where it says you're being logged in with cached credentials? I know some of you might have seen that. Sometimes your domain controller can't be canceled or can't be contacted, but you've logged in before. It used to happen with older versions of server, but it's getting better. What would happen is you go log on, it's like domain controller cannot be contacted. Logging in with a cached copy, which means you have done this before. We're assuming you're valid. We just can't verify with the server at this point. So. You don't see that as much anymore. Okay. There is a conception administrators can always log in. And should anybody ever log in as an administrator? What do you think? Really shouldn't. You should always log in as your account. And we still do it today, but you really should not put anybody in the domain admin group, really. You shouldn't. You know, if Brent works in IT services, he should have his regular Brent account. Then when he wants to do something that requires administrative privileges, he should use run as or something like that to escalate his permissions. But that's not the way it happens. In the real world today, we just stick people in domain admin group. And the problem with that is, when I worked at Tinker, we did that as well. It's not the best way to do it, but it's just the way people do it. It's one of those things. But it was funny because we had these people. We were migrating from Windows 95 to Windows 2000. What's called 2000, wasn't it? Yeah. We're migrating to Windows 2000, which was really the first enterprise network operating system. Windows 95 was, but you could always hit escape and still get in, that kind of stuff. Okay. So we heard people start complaining, like, hey, I can't access these folders. And we check it, we're like, it's fine. They check it, we can't access it. We check it, it's fine. Well, the reason was when we set up the accounts, we were setting it up as an administrator. We were setting it up so we could see it. So, you know, I was giving Sam permissions, but I was saying, well, it looks like Sam's got. It wasn't, because we were saying Sam had to be an administrator to get into it. It was a dumb error on our part, but since we were logging in as domain admins, they just gave us access to everything. So what we really need to do is Brent over there should be logging in as Brent, and then escalating permissions as needed. Just the other day, when I got my new computer, Ian had to do some work on my machine. And I was logged in. He's like, oh, I need you to log off. I'm like, why? He goes, I need to run terminal services and flush the DNS. I'm like, no, you can. I don't need to log off of there. He goes, I need to use my account. So I use run as. He's like, that won't work. I'm like, yeah, it will. It's just, you can. You can always run as another account. So just a lot of people don't know that. The problem with that is, if I use run as to connect to a share as Ian's credentials, you can't remove that unless we're rebooting. So it's just a little weird. Okay, let's continue on. We're going to finish this. Okay, how to enable this stuff. Okay, on your machines, you should hopefully have your machines up. I want you to bring up something called Active Directory Sites and Services. Okay, so on your machine, come on. All right, and I don't think you can get to it from Tools. Yes, you can. Under Tools, the Server Manager, I want you to bring up Active Directory Sites and Services. Okay. Let's wait for it. Come on. You can do it. Well, is it tired?
Very
Came up finally?
Yeah, took a while. Click again.
There, okay, it came up. All right. So inside of Active Directory sites and services, once yours comes up, expand the box. Expand. You should see yours under default first site servers. You should see your machine. Okay. Everybody find that under default first site name, expand servers. You should be able to see your name. And if you go to properties of this machine, and under, oh, hold on. Well, we might not be able to see it. Hold on, let me see what it's supposed to look like. Go to your server. Oh, I'm sorry, it's NTDS, my fault. Okay, hit cancel on your server. Right click on the NTDS settings, my fault. Right click on NTDS settings, then properties, and there's the global catalog checkbox. Y'all see that? What that means is, remember the first server is automatically a global catalog, we said. So we're a global catalog server. Okay? If we had more servers, what I could do, I could get on this list picking a alternate server, you know, my second or whatever, some other server, right click on NDDS, properties, and then click global catalog to make that one the global catalog server. So you can switch, you cannot have more than one. So even though they say Active Directory is fault tolerant, we really only have one global catalog server. Okay. So that's how you would change it. If you had more servers, you select a different server, go down there and just select global catalog and says, you sure you want to transfer this role? Yes. Okay. So let's continue on. So that's where you change it right there. Okay. Opening it and changing it right there. So Universal Group membership caching. It says allows domain controllers to store members of Universal Group in its local cache indefinitely. It allows it to stay there forever. Okay. Yet not many people use universal groups, but if you do, you can force it to stay there forever, and it's under this area. It's in the same place you were just at. That's under, wait a minute, hold on. No, it's under the site, though. It's under the site. Is it this one? Hold on. No, it's still NTDS, isn't it? NTDS site settings. That's not the one. That's not the one. Hold on, let me find it. Can't do it at this level. That's not it. Ah, default first site. That's the one. Click on default first site. Sorry, I didn't even notice it. Then if you go properties of that one, here's where you can enable Universal Group membership caching. By default, it's not checked. The reason is, why do you need it? It's there in case the domain goes down. You want to have a copy of it cached at each location. So think about it. Maybe we got Hertz Europe, Hertz US, Hertz Asia. Maybe one server in each area. Did you find it?
No.
Okay. Click on the default first site name.
Okay.
Then go to the right-hand screen to NTDS settings and properties. Is it there now?
Site setting properties?
Yes, and it should say enable universal groups at the bottom.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe if we got because normally there's only one global catalog server. But what you could do is maybe pick a server in each organization and check that box at that point. So that means that server will have a copy of it. Because now we have a lot of stuff working over WANs, which is a wide area network. But what happens if the WAN goes down? Like this morning, I came here and our email was totally dead. I couldn't connect to Exchange or nothing. So I guess it died overnight. So it would be nice if you were talking global domains, you had copies of the stuff. So that's where you could set that. Okay. All right, let's continue on. Now let's talk about some operations master roles. This is a very important part. Okay. It says guidelines for placing this is place domain level roles on high performance domain controllers. Okay. In other words, if you have one machine, it's going to do all these. But as you get more domain controllers, you should move these apart so they're not all on the same. It should be on some high power server. Okay. Do not place the infrastructure master on a global catalog server unless you only have one. Okay. The schema master and naming master should be on the domain controllers in the forest root domain so people can find it. And the PDC emulator becomes overworked, so should offload the non-Active Directory domain service roles to other servers. And we're going to look at where to do this at. Okay. The easiest way is to do netdom. Let's do this command. In your machine, go to the command prompt. If you click on the Windows key and type CMD, click on search first. CMD. There it is. And type netdom query. Oh, hush. Shut down. No. What did I type? Oh, netdom query fsmo. Yep, query fsmo. Okay. netdom query fsmo. This will show us a listing here in a second, I hope. There it goes. Okay, did all of you get a listing? Should have come up like that. What'd you do, Corey? Did you break it? Everybody's got it but you. Oh, there you go. I got it. Okay, what this is telling us is which machines are which masters. So the schema master is on KDUI. Oh, so it's the domain naming master, PDC, RID, infrastructure. They're all on my machine. Well, I'm the only domain controller. Makes sense. If you're the only domain controller, you're everything. Do y'all understand that? As you add more, you should move them. Okay? If you only have 2 domain controllers, do half and half. If you have a dozen, just move them around. Okay? So that's how you see them. To view the RID and the PDC and the infrastructure master, use Active Directory users and computers. Let's go to Active Directory users and computers now. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of that. And under Tools, Active Directory users and computers. Okay. So I clicked on Tools and Active Directory users and computers. And I should see a bunch of stuff in here. All right, and if I go to your domain at the top, it should be Active Directory, then Saved Queries, then it should have your domain. If you right-hand click on that and go to Properties, oh, I'm sorry, not Properties, my fault. Right-hand click on it and go to Operations Masters. All right, everybody see that? I right-clicked on it, went to Operations Masters, and it should show you who the RID, okay, and the PDC and the Infrastructure Masters are. Again, they're all me, because I'm only one domain controller. But if we had more, here's where we could click the transfer or the change button. Okay, what happens, like PDC emulator, I don't know if they talk too much about it in here, but the PDC emulator is really for older domains. Yeah, there it says on pre-Windows 2000 computers. So the odds are we don't care about that anymore. But you never know. Like I know for at least last time I heard there was a bunch of ATMs that were still running off NT4 servers. So, hey, if it works, why mess with it? You know, it's one of those things. So, you know, it's still part of server, obviously, but here's where you can check and here's where you can change them. Okay? All right, so you can very easily see where they're at. Now, I think they get into something we need to see. Okay, so to view them, we saw that. Okay, we saw that already. Okay, to view the naming master, go into Active Directory Domains and Trust. So go back in the Server Manager. Not that screen. Go in the Server Manager and go to Active Directory Domains and Trusts. Alright, and you should right-click on your domain. I think this one's Properties. No, that's the trust. That's not it. Hold on. You can always look at the screen. Is it Manage? No, it's not Manage. Hold on. Wait a minute. It should be there. Why am I not seeing it? Okay. Open our name. We did Operations Masters. We saw those. Saw the Operations Masters. Oh, that's just... Wait, hold on. What did they tell me to look at? To view the operation, we did that. To view the holders of the domain naming master, use Active Directory. To view the holders of the schema master, use Active Directory schema. Why can't I see the domain naming master? We're going to find that one real quick. That wasn't in... I know it's here. Hold on. There it is. Right click the top. Okay. There it is. I don't know why they're in different places. But if you right click the top where it says Active Directory Domains, then you click Operations Masters. It's right there. Okay? So again, you can change who takes care of it at this level. Okay? I want to go back. Let's go back real quick to Active Directory users and computers real quick. Okay, and this should load up a lot quicker this time. Active Directory users and computers. Okay. Okay. Is it coming up? Maybe. Hopefully. If you expand it out a little bit, like you can go under computers, you should. Okay, actually, you see none because we don't have any. All we have is domain controllers. We should be able to click on domain controllers and see your machine. Okay. You could right click on it at that point. You could do all kinds of stuff to it. Just see all kinds of information about it. But you could do that for any machine on here. Now, if you click on users, you'll see there's a bunch of built-in stuff, a lot of groups. Okay. Let me show you how this whole organizational unit, they don't talk about it in this chapter, but it's a good idea to know. So I want to show it to you. So I'm going to go under users, and I'm going to create a new organizational unit. Where's organizational unit? Come on. I know you can do it. New. Shared folder. That's not it. Why can't I do it in here? That's weird.
It's under your,
Oh,
it's under your main.
there it is. I found it. It's under rose.edu. Go to new organizational unit under your top domain. Okay, I knew it was there. It's like, whatever. Well, let's call this. We'll make one called students. Make one called students. So now we have a new organizational unit under our domain called students. Inside there, we're going to right click on students, go new organizational unit, and we'll put BIT for business students. Then on students again, go new organizational unit, we'll put math students. So you can see how we can actually have organizational units laid up any way you want. And now, when they first came out with this, they said, do not do it based on change of the command. Like, we should not have Dr. Webb. And then the however many vice presidents we have. And then the deans, because that's stupid. You need to design this based on functionality. So, I mean, this is probably not the best idea. But, students overall is a group of students. Then we could actually divide them out. And what you could do... Let's just create one real quick. I'm going to go into BIT. Now I'm going to say new user. I'm going to call it Ken. Put your name in there. That's fine. Ken Dewey. Login is going to be K Dewey. My password is going to be password1. And when you're on that password screen, let's talk about this for a second because some people had this issue 2 weekends ago during Cyber Patriot. So what if we select the first two checkboxes? See what happens when you try to select the first two checkboxes? When you try, see the one that's checked already says user must change password in the next login. The second one says user cannot change password. So if you try to check two, it's like you cannot check that they must and they cannot. So you need to, if you want to make it so they can't change it, you must unselect the first one, then select the second one. Okay? But you can change the way their password systems works. You can say where it never expires. You can have their accounts disabled, all that stuff. And if their account does get disabled, this box gets checked. You can always uncheck it. Okay? So we're going to say next, and we're going to add our account. So now we have a user, Ken Dewey, or whatever your name is, under business. Okay? So if we wanted to give certain permissions to all of BIT students, very easy, stick them all in the BIT group. And if I remember right, I can now drag Ken Dewey over to the math group. It says moving objects in Active Directory can prevent your existing system from working correctly. Yeah, because you're going to be inheriting the permissions of the destination. So now if you notice, Can Do is now over in math. So if you want to move a student, it's very easy to do that. Yeah, the guy finally made it. Okay, good. So if my point is, you can drag people back and forth, but it warns you. Because I was in business, so if he drug me from business to math, it says, hey, all the functionality and stuff you had in business might no longer function. Okay? And we're going to talk more about group policy next week, where we'll see how to configure all the different stuff you can do with the users. But this is what an organization unit looks like, and you can add more, you can move stuff around. It's just very handy. They say do not go more than 10 levels deep. The reason is you can actually set properties here. Well, actually, no, hold on. Let me see how they do it now. Come on, where's it at? Well, we'll look at it next week. But you can actually set permissions and properties based on organizational units. And it's funny because at Rose State, I'm in my own special group. For all the machines in my room are different than anybody else on campus because I have different software installed. Like every night at 5 p.m., Rose State does a full entire computer scan for antivirus. Good plan or bad? What do you think? Sounds good. The problem is I have about 6 terabytes of hard drive space on my computer. So what do you think happens when you try to scan completely 6 terabytes every night at 5 p.m.? Come back in the next morning, guess what's happening? We're still scanning 6 terabytes of hard drive space. So I said, no, we're going to do it once a week on a Sunday. So they added me to a special group where mine runs at a different time. They also have it where I can stop it from running. A normal user cannot. But, on campus, most users don't know what the hell they're doing. So they've got it where I can go in and stop the antivirus. And it was funny because when I got my new computer, I could no longer do that. The other day I was in here Monday working. I'm like, why is this so slow? And, oh, antivirus is still going. And I did not have the permissions to stop it. The reason was I got a new machine and they did not put me in the right group. My old machine was still in the group. So once they added me to the group, now I had the permissions to do all that stuff and it took care of it. So it's kind of cool the way it works. Okay, let's continue on. So we can look at the different. We need to look at the schema master. Now I'm going to go into my machine. I'm going to bring up the Microsoft Management Console. If you go search and just type in MMC, it'll show up. Okay. If you do a search, type in MMC, it'll show up. And now we want to add or remove. We're going to click on File. Then we're going to go Add, Remove, Snap-in. And we want to go down to Schema Master. I know it's there. Is it Active Directory Schema Master? Hold on, let me see what it's called. Use the Active Directory Schema. Where's it at? I know you're there. Why can't I see it? Am I dreaming or something?
Yeah, I can't see it either.
Alright, let's see. It says, to use it, and even show us in here. There's the red PDC emulator, operations master. Go back to that one in a second. Well, okay, they're not going to show me a picture of it? Well, transfer and roll, we're going to get there. Hold on. It's naming master. Yeah, go in there. It says open the add, remove, snap-ins, yeah. And they don't show it to me. Where the hell is it? Okay, it's not the sure it's not the second one down on the list?
That was.
It's not there. So if you look on the slides, it's there. It's Active Directory Schema is the second one down. I have no idea why it's not no longer there. It should be there. But it's not. Hold on, we're going to find this thing. I don't know how to find it. I don't know how we're going to do it. Active Directory domain, sites and services, users and computers. Well, normally it's there. I don't know why we're not seeing it. I really don't have a clue. It's not there anywhere. I mean, it's nothing real special. It's just a little snap-in you add where you transfer the role for the schema. I just don't know why we can't see it. All right, well, sorry, I don't know why. So add and remove the snap-in dialog box. Yeah, but why isn't it coming up? So you can use Active Directory domains. Yeah, we know that. Okay. Let's go back to where we were at a second ago. Okay. So we're talking about, we saw that, we saw that. We saw the operation masters. Yeah, the schema master should be there. I don't know why it's not appearing. Sorry. Hopefully you never need to move it, because obviously you can't anymore. I don't know. Transferring them. Here is an important thing. I used to do a lot of consulting for a lot of companies. And way back when I first started this, there was no IT budgets. In other words, no company gave money for computers because they didn't need computers. Now all of a sudden they need computers, so they bought computers. But I had a lot of companies I work with who never built a budget for it, which means they bought computers when they first needed them, but never put in money to replace them. Okay? Actually, one of my clients ran e-machines. Y'all know what an e-machine is? It is the cheapest. Literally, you bought a machine at Best Buy, you bought an e-machine. That was the only machine that if you had any problem with whatsoever, they did not fix it. They threw it away, gave you a new one. That's how cheap it was. It was like whatever the cheapest, whatever. It was like the Yugo, if you know what a Yugo is. You young kids probably never heard of Yugos. But for a while there, if you bought a decent card, they'd throw in a free Yugo.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, same thing. It was an e-machine. It was crappy. But I have people who wouldn't put in any money to upgrade. Well, once you start getting to the point where you have an IT budget, you're probably going to want to replace stuff every so often. Okay? So you need to move stuff. You might want to do maintenance on machines. You might retire something, and you need to move them. Okay? It says, transferring a role requires that the source domain controller and the target both be online. That's a biggie. So if you're moving the schema master, the operations master, the RID, the PDC, any of those masters, you need the old and the new on at the same time. Kind of important. Because what happens is, when you tell it to transfer to the new, it copies from the old to the new, then removes the role from the old. Okay? They show you how to do it. You click on change domain controller and connect to the new one. Okay? Then, well, they're not going to show you. Well, then so you click connect to the new one, then you just go to the operations masters tabs we looked at and just check, change membership. It's pretty simple to do. But, so this part right here says transfer requires that the source and target are both online at the same time. Do you think that always happens? No, because what happens is you have a machine that's running one of these roles and it crashes. It burns up and dies. Crap. What am I going to do? The schema master or the PDC emulator is on a machine that died. So how can you possibly transfer to a new one if the old one doesn't exist? Well, what you do is you seize the role. And that's right here. So if the domain controller that holds an operation master role has an unrecoverable failure, you cannot transfer it. Obviously, it doesn't exist. Therefore, you need to seize it. Okay? So seizing is a drastic measure that should be performed only in the event of a permanent role hardware failure or holder failure. What that means is, if your machine's down for a day getting something done to it, don't transfer the role. Because if you do this and it ever comes back online, it could cause major issues. Okay? That's what I mean. It's a permanent holder failure. It's never going to come back online. Okay? Use the ATDS utility, and they should show it to us. Okay? Let's go into our server right here and bring up the command prompt again. NTDSUTIL. Okay? All right. Type in NTDSUTIL in a command prompt. I've done this so many times. Okay? So NTDSUTIL, and then type in roles. And then FSMA maintenance, and then we can go, let's see, let's do connections. Whoops. Okay. Server connections, and then we're going to say connect to. Well, we only have one server. This is going to. We can't do this. We'll tell it to connect to us. What is our? Y'all know what your server, your domain name is, or what your server is? Connect to server. If you want to find out what your name is, by the way, if you bring up another command prompt window and type host name. Mine is KDeweyS12. So I'm type connect to KDeweyS12. Doesn't like that. Hold on. Connect. Oh, connect to server. That's why. Hit the up arrow if you need to. Okay, binding to. Then it says connecting to KDeweyS12. Is anyone getting this to work so far? At least one or two of you. Okay, so we're connected to it. Now, it says connected to blah blah blah. Servers quit. Okay. Then if we type quit, all right. Okay, FISMA maintenance. So we connected to it. Then we do C's PDC. This should not work, by the way. SE. IZE, PDC. There you go. Look, pop up and say, are you sure you want to do this? So we're going to pretend we're seizing the PDC emulator. So once it said it connected to my machine, I typed quit. It came back to FISMO maintenance. Then I typed in seize PDC. And it says, are you sure you want to seize this role? Well, you can't, okay, because it's us. We're not going to be able to do it. So we're going to say no, okay? But this is how you would do it, okay? So I'm going to say no because it's not going to let me seize it from myself because it is me. Then I'm just going to do quit a couple more times. Quit, quit, and we're out. Let me bring in what it looks like over here, okay? So here I type seize PDC. This is attempting the safe transfer. And if the machine died, obviously you cannot do a safe transfer. So it says seizure, it says attempting to safe transfer a PDC emulator, transfer successfully, seize not required. But if it wasn't available, it would actually pop up and say, could not connect. Do you want to seize this role? Yes or no? Then it'll give you a warning, which they probably don't show us. No, it won't. And it won't show you. It says, are you sure? Basically like the slide says, make sure this is offline and never comes back online again. Okay. So that's very, very... I mean, as a domain admin, this is probably one of the things that's most important. Because if you don't have a PDC emulator, Red Master, all those other servers, you're going to start having these weird issues. Machines just screw up, and people can't log on, services don't work, and that's why. Okay?
So you only do this in the case of, like, say, somebody spills something on the computer and fries all the things.
Exactly. Because if we can transfer, you just go to domain, sites and services, go to operations master, select on and transfer it, no problem. But I've had this happen many times. Like at St. Philip Neri, I took care of their network for years. Man, probably 15 years. And it was one of those deals that they really didn't pay me much, and it was more of a donation basis. So I didn't spend a lot of time out there. But when they needed me, I'd go fix stuff. Well, I had a server running that did a lot of stuff. Then had another server that had some of the roles. Well, the second server also had a virtual server running on it, which helped do some of the roles as well. Well, the power failed, so the server rebooted, and the virtual server never came back up. So some of the roles weren't online. Then what ended up happening was, we just started getting these really weird errors. So I had to go out and find out, the server's offline. Okay. But when I ran my own network, I had servers crash. Not a lot, but once in a while you have one. So you cannot transfer it gracefully. So you use this, and what it does is it promotes a server to whatever that role is, the PDC emulator, the Ridmaster, whatever, and tells everybody in the network, okay, Brent is the PDC emulator. So everything starts working good again. It's not that it really needed, the whole transfer process is telling the domain, Brent is now the PDC emulator. Corey is no longer the PDC emulator. Okay? Well, when that's what the normal transfer works, but when that doesn't work, we have to force it by saying Brent's now the PDC emulator. Then we have to use this command to contact all the other domain controllers and force Corey out of there because it just couldn't happen easily. Okay? It's just one of those things that if you're a domain admin, you will do this someday. You'd be like, darn it, how did I do that? Or where did... And another time you use this, it's like, okay, so right now we're running server 2012. The odds are Microsoft's going to update to server 14, 15, 18, I don't know, server 2020. But you're still going to have a server 2012 probably laying around somewhere that's running. Well, before you can install a new server 2020, you probably have to upgrade the schema on 2012. Because what happened, the schema is like all the different settings that could pertain to a user. Okay? Like, imagine the stuff that applies to you. Your phone number, where you work, what printer you connect to, all the different attributes of a user account. Okay? Well, they're always adding stuff to that. Every release, there's hundreds and hundreds of new things. So if you got a network running server 2012 and you want to add a server 2020 to the same network, they're going to say, hey, you need to upgrade the schema on your 2012 machine. So you have to find out which one's the schema master, go in and update the schema on it. It's not hard to do. They give the instructions, you walk through it. But the fact is sometimes they crash, and then you have to be able to do it this way. So, okay. It's not difficult. And once you do this, it fixes all problems like instantly. Wow, everything starts working again. Because remember when we were in DNS, we were talking about all those different record types. There was servers and SVR records where we could say, Sam is a file server or whatever. PDC emulators get listed in there. RID masters get listed in there. All the different roles get listed so that when someone needs something on the network, they're like, hey, who's the schema master? Well, the schema master says, that's me. Well, if it goes offline, it kind of sucks and stuff stops working. Okay? Hopefully I explained that well. I don't know. Okay. Installing and configuring. We're not going to walk through the rest of this because we'll be making a new domain controller. But I'm just going to walk through the slides with you. Read-only domain controller is a copy of it. Okay? Maybe we're part of the OSU network. Okay? So the main campus has everything. But they want a copy of it here at Rose State so we can log in easier. But we don't want to give Rose State the ability to add stuff to it. You make it read-only. It says was created in places where domain controller is needed, but the physical security cannot be guaranteed. So you're going to put a domain controller somewhere. Maybe we're in the Hertz domain, and we got the Hertz building up on Northwest Expressway. Okay? So we're going to put a domain controller there so all of the Oklahoma City area can log in quickly. But we're not going to be there to manage it. It's like Tinker. I don't know if you know this now. They have one domain. It's, I think, out of Wright Pat. I think that's where it's at. Do you know where it's at? Yeah. Which sucks. It takes forever to get anything done because it's got to replicate all the way from Wright Pat. But they have domain controllers here. But we can't make any changes on them. So what happens is the changes come from Wright Pat, flow their way down, but it could take a while. So read-only is just a copy of everything to help log in, to help process stuff, but you really can't make any changes on it. Okay? Installing one, so when you need to install one, you need to find a delegated administrator who's going to administer it locally. Okay? Then make sure it's 2000 or above. Deploy at least one writable domain. Yeah, that's fine. Then you have to set password replication policies because they do replicate across. You want to replicate one way but not the other. And so we're not going to do it. You walk through it. Blah, blah, blah. Add a domain controller. I said we're not going to do it. There's the global catalog. And it should say, there's the read-only. Read-only domain controllers. Right there, a checkbox right in the middle. We're not going to do that. I just want to show you that it was available. Okay? That's about installing that one. Another thing they talk about is cloning, which we're not going to do because we don't have a we'll see, whatever it's called. We don't have it here. I can't think of the name. We'll see it in a second. But what they recommend now is making clones of domain controllers. So if one crashes, you can just redeploy the clone or redeploy a copy of it, stuff like that. So you can clone a domain controller, then change its name. So it's a very easy to get, redundancy. Like we have 2 domain controllers down in 201. But we also have 1 virtual domain controller. The reason I like the virtual domain controller is the 2 physical boxes go offline for a power failure. Well, the virtual one is leased on a UPS system because the entire server rack's on a UPS system. So the odds are at least the virtual one will stay online. People could log in and people could do stuff. Well, you can clone them right through here. Okay, turn it off. Import the virtual machine. Okay, again, we're not going to walk through this. So and it was, what's it called? Not vMotion. What's it called? Hyper-V. I couldn't think of the name for a minute there. Hyper-V is Microsoft's version of VMware. It's free. It comes with a server. So you can always use it. Okay? This lab was originally to be set up to use Hyper-V, but we're not. Okay? So that's all this chapter. Hopefully you got a little bit basic understanding of masters and stuff like that. At least how they work. Okay? All right. The way you're going to get credit for doing this is just by being here. So, which y'all are. So that works out great. All right. So that's it for tonight. Class ends in a minute and a half anyway.